great players, they have a great organization, and you tell them one thing.
What is good, Raider Nation? Is your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that is new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's jump right into it. A lot of new information has come out in the NFL media that directly impacts the Raiders and their plans moving forward into a crucial offseason. First and foremost, Tom Brady has officially announced that he will retire from the National Football League, and he mentioned this time it's for good, because last offseason he announced his retirement and shortly after changed his mind and decided he wanted to continue to still play in the National Football League. Now, do I think there's a possibility that he would pull this stunt once again? I highly doubt that he'd pull that twice in back-to-back years, but look, that's something to keep in mind. But I will say I was quite surprised that Tom Brady decided to retire, but the news has come out. So with Brady being essentially out of the picture for the Raiders as the starting quarterback next season, how does this affect our game plan going into this offseason? And look, without Tom Brady, there are still certain things I think this team needs to address, regardless of who we sign at the quarterback position in free agency, or if we choose just to go the route of drafting a quarterback. And that is, I think this team we have to change the identity and strategy of this franchise moving forward. I think the Raiders need to become a more defensive-minded, oriented team, and overall a more balanced team on both sides of the football in order to be able to compete in the AFC that is filled with many teams with young, elite quarterbacks. And honestly, I think that's one thing where I think the Raiders have really dropped the ball in the past few years. We have invested and prioritized the offense way too much instead of building a roster that can neutralize the crazy firepower of the top AFC teams, especially with having a guy like Patrick Mahomes in this division. It almost felt like the Raiders franchise did whatever we could do on offense to try and prove everyone wrong about Derek Carr, when in reality, we should have just accepted the fact that we don't have a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League, and we should have just realized it would not benefit us to try to beat these offensive-minded teams with young elite quarterbacks at their own game. I feel like we just prioritize way too much trying to fix the whole line, get weapons on the offense. Really, when it comes to being in an offensive-oriented division like the AFC West and the AFC in general, I feel like we really need to put the right pieces in place on defense to match up well and be able to neutralize these offenses. And that's really what I think the Raiders need to prioritize in this offseason, regardless of who the quarterback is. The Raiders will have a lot of resources to invest in that side of the football, especially with the amount of draft capital we have this year. And I'm confident in our general manager Dave Ziegler's ability to scout young talent and hit on the majority of these draft picks. Also, with the Raiders being able to free up $30 million after we part ways from Derek Carr, that will also allow us the ability to invest in some veteran defensive players who can contribute immediately. And also, speaking of Derek Carr, the man just got selected to the Pro Bowl. And also, recent reports have shown that Derek Carr actually would prefer a trade instead of being released, supposedly due to the fact that the optics of being traded compared to being released would be better for Derek Carr. Personally, I think it's probably more due to the fact that he would like to keep that $40 million extension the Raiders offered him last season moving forward. And he most likely wouldn't be able to get that on the open market. But the point is, there's a strong possibility that Derek Carr can be traded. According to the CBA, if Derek Carr were to get injured in the Pro Bowl game this weekend, the Raiders would be liable to Derek Carr's contract next season, which is concerning to me. But I will say it's also the Pro Bowl, so the chances of anyone getting injured would be very slim. And honestly, I was leaning towards the fact that I thought the Raiders were actually just going to release Derek Carr, but these recent reports indicate that most likely the Raiders are going to try to trade Derek Carr. It's interesting because I guess my main concern is I want to get those $30 million freed up in their cap space, because I want us to be able to invest that money into free agency, which will be next month in March. I don't really care if we release Derek Carr, if we are able to trade Derek Carr. Ideally, if we can get some draft capital for him, that'd be awesome. But my biggest thing is I hope it's done sooner rather than later. I hope going into free agency, we have his contract off the books. That way we can invest that money on proven defensive players in free agency. Now, with me establishing the fact that I think the Raiders need to invest on the defense and overall build a more balanced roster to attack these AFC high-powered offenses, the question still is, what should the Raiders do at the quarterback position? With the Super Bowl being held in Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas the next coming season, I personally feel like Mark Davis desperately wants this team to be competitive next year and to fight for a potential Super Bowl run. At the very least, I think Davis is going to do whatever he possibly can to make some big splash moves to motivate and excite the Raiders fan base going into such a huge season next year. It's not very often that you can host the Super Bowl at your home stadium, and what a better way to establish a fan base in Las Vegas and the Las Vegas market. And with that being said, one splash option was Tom Brady, but with him retiring, I really only see two scenarios left that could really generate a lot of attention and excitement for this team next season. And the first one would be that you, at this point, trade for Aaron Rodgers. Personally, I wasn't really a huge fan of this option, but there's no doubt that he's the best available veteran quarterback on the market right now, and getting Rodgers would definitely excite people all around the league. We saw today too, Davante Adams posted a video of Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football on his Instagram page. So could Davante Adams be throwing in some hints that he now wants Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback since Tom Brady has decided to retire? So to me, you either trade for Aaron Rodgers or the Raiders make a big move in this year's NFL draft and move up to acquire one of these big name draft prospects, whether it be CJ Stroud from Ohio State or even potentially Bryce Young out of Alabama. Reports and rumors indicate that Ziegler is more of a fan of CJ Stroud and that Josh McDaniels likes Bryce Young. Bryce Young played on a pro-style offense in Alabama, and I think he would definitely be a good fit for this McDaniels offense. He's a great playmaker. There's no doubt that either one of these options would generate a lot of excitement within this fan base, and that would most definitely be a big splash move. You look at how the NFL is ran currently. This is a quarterback-driven league, and most importantly, this is a star-driven league. You look at the AFC. You look at all the top teams that made the playoffs this year in the AFC. Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, they drafted him. Cincinnati Bengals drafted Joe Burrow. The Jaguars drafted Trevor Lawrence. The Chargers with Justin Herbert. I think the NFL really is trending towards a league where if you don't have a star at the quarterback position, it's really hard to win. And at this point, I feel like the only way we're going to be able to get a star quarterback is through the draft. So really, if Mark Davis wants to come out and make a big move and hype up this fan base for next season, I think these are really the only two options he could go with. If not, the Raiders will likely just have to sign a bridge quarterback, or you can roll with Jarrett Stidham until they find their future quarterback in the NFL draft. But it's going to be interesting to see what we do, because if we sacrifice next year, I honestly do not know how much more patient this fan base will be with head coach Josh McDaniels. Most people have already been calling for his head for months now. And personally, I definitely think he should be on the hot seat. I don't want to go through another rebuild, to be honest with you. I really feel like he did not inherit such a terrible situation for him to justify coming in here and blowing it all up for a rebuild. But there's no doubt I need to see more from Josh McDaniels next season. And if the Raiders fail next season, then you definitely have to seriously consider moving on from head coach Josh McDaniels. But how this new regime really handles this offseason and how aggressive they are, I think will really just show us whether or not Mark Davis is seriously putting some legitimate pressure on them and whether or not their jobs are really on the line next season. If it's a quiet offseason, then it looks like they got some job security. But if they're coming out here and making big moves, being aggressive, trying to change this team drastically, then look, I would love that. I think that's really what needs to be done. There needs to be some pressure from up top in order for things to be changed in the near future. But Raider Nation, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think we should do at the quarterback position now with Tom Brady not being an option? With that being said, that is all I have for you guys in today's video. Anybody that is new to the channel, you guys love Raiders related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.